The soft hum of quantum machinery filled the underground laboratory as the autumn rain pelted against reinforced windows. Dr. Hanja's fingers flew across the holographic control panel, her dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of the quantum chamber. Around her, banks of computers processed data streams, while the experimental apparatus pulsed with an otherworldly light. She had been working on this project for 5 years now, ever since that fateful day when a random quantum fluctuation had caught her attention. Most scientists would have dismissed it as noise in the system. But Jia wasn't most scientists. The quantum chamber itself was a marvel of engineering, a perfect sphere of crystalline material suspended in a magnetic field, with countless precision instruments monitoring every subatomic movement within. Today's experiment was attempt number 2547. Each failure had taught them something new, but none had produced the results they sought. "Dr. Kim, are the quantum field stabilizers ready?" Jia called out to her colleague. Dr. Kim Ta looked up from his own console, his usually neat hair disheveled from running his hands through it in frustration. "Field stabilizers at maximum power. But I still think we're wasting our time. These readings make no sense." Dr. Park's son, their theoretical physicist, was frantically scribbling equations on the lab's smart wall. His traditional lab coat contrasted sharply with the cutting-edge technology surrounding them. "The math says it should work. We're just missing something fundamental." Jia took a deep breath. "Let's try it again. Full power to the quantum injectors." The chamber began to hum louder as streams of precisely controlled particles were fired into the crystalline sphere. On their monitors, they could see quantum entanglement patterns forming and dissolving in microseconds. "Nothing new," Kim muttered, "just like the last 1,000 times." He stopped mid-sentence as every instrument in the lab suddenly spiked. The quantum chamber's glow intensified, and for a brief moment, the air itself seemed to ripple like heat waves rising from hot pavement. "Are you seeing this?" Jia's voice was barely a whisper. The particle detector readings were showing something impossible, quantum states that shouldn't exist in our universe. Park dropped his marker, mouth hanging open as he stared at the data streaming across his screen. The particles, they're not just entangled. They're folding through dimensions we can't even see. For the next 3 months, they repeated the experiment under every possible condition. They brought in additional sensors, triple-checked their equipment, and ran countless simulations, but the results remained consistent. They had discovered something new. On a cold winter morning, Jia stood before the gathered research team, her heart pounding as she prepared to share their findings. The laboratory's conference room was packed with scientists from every department, drawn by rumors of a breakthrough. "What you're about to see changes everything we know about quantum physics," she began, bringing up a holographic display of their results. "We've discovered a way to create controlled quantum tunnels through space-time itself." The room erupted in murmurs of disbelief. A senior physicist stood up. "That's impossible. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical using conventional methods." Jia finished for him. "But we're not using conventional methods. We're using the quantum fabric of space itself." She gestured to the complex equations filling the air around her. "By creating precise patterns of quantum entanglement, we can essentially fold space like paper. It's not just faster than light travel. We're creating shortcuts through the universe itself." Kim stepped forward, adding his voice to the presentation. "We've already successfully transmitted particles through these quantum tunnels. They arrive at their destination the instant the tunnel forms. No transit time at all." "The implications are staggering," Park continued, his eyes bright with excitement. "A ship equipped with this technology could reach Alpha Centauri in moments instead of years. The entire galaxy would be open to us." As Jia looked at her fellow scientists' faces, some shocked, some skeptical, some already racing ahead to the possibilities, she felt a strange mixture of pride and fear. They had done it. They had cracked the code that would let humanity reach the stars. But something nagged at the back of her mind. In all their experiments, they had noticed strange ripples in the quantum field, effects that spread far beyond their test chamber. What would happen when they scaled up the technology? What forces were they really playing with? As the meeting devolved into excited discussion and debate, Jia turned back to look at their quantum chamber. Its soft blue glow seemed somehow different now, less like a scientific instrument and more like a key that had just unlocked a door. A door to the stars, yes, but what else might come through? She pushed the thought aside. They had work to do. The prototype drive wouldn't build itself, and humanity's first steps into the galaxy couldn't wait. Little did she know that those strange ripples in space-time had already caught someone's attention, someone very far away, and very, very concerned. The morning sun glinted off the horizon's sleek hull as final preparations for the quantum drive test continued. The massive ship, nearly a kilometer long, floated gracefully in its orbital dock above Earth. Ground control buzzed with activity as engineers and scientists ran through their pre-launch checklists one last time. Dr. Han Jia stood at the bridge's main viewport, her heart racing with anticipation. After 18 months of scaling up their laboratory success, they were ready. The quantum drive hummed softly through the ship's structure, its crystalline core pulsing with that now familiar blue light. All systems are green, Dr. Kim Tae reported from his station. Quantum field stabilizers at optimal levels. We're ready to begin power-up sequence. Dr. Park's son monitored the space-time sensors he had specially designed for this test. Local space-time fabric remained stable. No unusual distortions detected. Jia took a deep breath. Start the countdown. 10 minutes to drive activation. The bridge crew worked with focused precision, each person knowing their role in this historic moment. Humanity's first faster-than-light ship was about to make its maiden voyage. At T-3 minutes, every alarm on the bridge suddenly screamed to life. Multiple objects materializing in high orbit. The sensor officer shouted. 12? No, 13 vessels. Nothing like we've ever seen before. The ships seemed to crystallize out of nothing, their hulls catching sunlight like massive diamonds. They arranged themselves in a perfect circle around the horizon, their presence both beautiful and terrifying. All Earth defense systems are going to high alert, Kim reported, his voice tense. But these ships, they're not making any aggressive moves. Before anyone could respond, every screen on the bridge lit up with a message in perfect English. Greetings, children of Earth. We are the Council representatives. Your quantum experiments have drawn our attention. We come in peace, but with urgent purpose. Within hours, the International Spaceport in New Singapore was hosting the most important diplomatic meeting in human history. Chief Ambassador Li Du, chosen for his decades of experience in international negotiations, found himself facing beings that challenged his very understanding of life itself. Some of the aliens were living crystals, their thoughts expressed through patterns of light that shimmered through their transparent bodies. Others seemed to be made of pure energy, contained within elegantly designed environmental suits. A few were almost humanoid, though their proportions and colors marked them as clearly non-terrestrial. We have been watching your species for some time, the lead representative explained. Its crystalline form pulsed with soft colors as it spoke, but your recent quantum experiments forced us to accelerate our plans for first contact. Li Du maintained his diplomatic composure, though his mind raced with questions. We are honored by your presence, he said carefully, but I must ask, why did our experiments concern you so greatly? An energy being floated forward, its voice somehow both in their heads and in the air. You have discovered something both wonderful and terrible. We must witness your quantum drive in operation. Only then can we determine. It paused, and Li Du felt a chill at its next words. Only then can we determine if your species is ready for what you have unleashed. Back on the horizon, Dr. Han Jia and her team worked frantically to understand the implications of this sudden first contact. The aliens' technology was centuries ahead of Earth's, yet they seemed genuinely concerned about the quantum drive. Look at their ships, Park said, analyzing the sensor data. They're using some form of space manipulation for propulsion, but it's completely different from our quantum tunneling approach. Kim nodded, his fingers flying over his console. Their energy signatures are like nothing we've ever seen. But there's something familiar about the quantum patterns they're generating. GF stared out at the crystalline ships, their perfect geometric forms somehow unsettling. They're afraid, she realized suddenly. These beings, with all their advanced technology, are afraid of what we've built. On the surface, diplomatic discussions continued as humanity tried to process this massive change in their understanding of the universe. News of the alien arrival spread across Earth, causing equal measures of excitement and fear. But for the scientists and diplomats directly involved, one question burned brighter than all others. What was it about humanity's quantum drive that could frighten beings who had mastered interstellar travel? As the Council representatives prepared to witness the drive test, the answer to that question would shake the foundations of human understanding and change their place in the galaxy forever. Li Du watched the aliens carefully as they established their monitoring equipment around the horizon. Something in their urgent movements and careful instructions suggested they were preparing for more than just a scientific demonstration. They were preparing for something they hoped wouldn't happen, something they had seen before. The observation deck of the horizon buzzed with nervous energy as the alien representatives set up their monitoring equipment. Their crystalline forms cast rainbow patterns across the walls, while the energy beings seemed to make the air itself crackle with static electricity. Dr. Han Jia stood next to Ambassador Li Du, watching as her life's work came under the scrutiny of beings from across the galaxy. The quantum drive's steady hum resonated through the ship's structure, a sound that had become comforting to her, but now made the alien observers twitch noticeably. All Earth monitoring stations report ready, Dr. Kim Tai announced from his console. The Council representatives have completed their sensor deployment. The lead crystalline being, who had introduced itself as the first observer, floated forward. "We are prepared. Please proceed with your demonstration. But be warned, at the first sign of dangerous resonance, we will shut down your drive using our emergency protocols." Jiao wanted to ask what they meant by dangerous resonance, but the time for questions had passed. She nodded to Kim. "Begin powered-up sequence." The quantum drive's hum deepened as energy flowed into its crystalline core. On the main display, they could see the quantum field forming around the ship, a delicate web of subatomic connections that would allow them to fold space itself. "Quantum field stable at 20%, Park reported. Beginning primary sequence." The alien observers became increasingly agitated as the power levels rose. The crystalline beings' surfaces rippled with complex patterns, while the energy beings pulsed with faster and faster frequencies. At 50% power, the first observer's voice rang out. "These readings, impossible. The quantum signature is exactly like." Before it could finish, the drive reached 60%, and chaos erupted. The crystalline beings began vibrating at such high frequencies that every piece of glass in the observation deck shattered. The energy beings flared so brightly that the humans had to shield their eyes. "Stop." The first observer's voice held such command that Kim's hand automatically slammed down on the emergency shutdown control. As the drive powered down, the lead council representative's form shifted from transparent to a deep, troubled red. "You don't understand what you've created," it transmitted, its mental voice filled with images of destruction that made everyone on the deck flinch. 300 billion lives, it continued, projecting visions of vast star systems filled with life. The entire Centaurus arm of the galaxy, gone in an instant when this technology was last used. The fabric of space-time itself unraveled. The humans stood in shocked silence as the representative shared images of the catastrophe. They saw worlds torn apart as space itself twisted and folded, entire civilizations vanishing as reality broke down around them. "It was 10,000 of your years ago," another representative added, its energy form pulsing with dark colors. "The predecessors thought they had mastered quantum manipulation. They built drives much like yours, thinking they could control the forces they were playing with. Dr. Park's hands trembled as he looked at his readings. But our calculations, all our tests showed the quantum fields were stable. The first observer moved closer, its crystalline form now a deep warning red. They thought the same. The catastrophe didn't happen immediately. The damage built up slowly, quantum fractures spreading through space-time like cracks in glass. When the final collapse came, there was no warning, no chance for evacuation. Gia felt her world spinning. 5 years of work, the breakthrough that would take humanity to the stars. And now they were being told it could destroy a third of the galaxy. Ambassador Li Du stepped forward, his diplomatic training helping him maintain composure. If this technology is so dangerous, why not contact us sooner? Why wait until we had built a working drive? The energy beings pulsed with what might have been embarrassment. We did not believe you would succeed, one admitted. Your understanding of quantum mechanics is unique, different from any other species we have encountered. You approached the problem from angles we never considered possible, which makes you even more dangerous, the first observer added. You have rediscovered this technology through paths we don't understand, using principles we can't fully comprehend. The risk is too great. The observation deck fell silent except for the fading hum of the quantum drive. Each human present tried to process the magnitude of what they had just learned. Their greatest achievement might also be their greatest threat, not just to humanity, but to all life in this section of the galaxy. Dr. Han Jia stared at her console, her mind racing through calculations and possibilities. Something about the aliens' reaction bothered her. The quantum signature they had detected, it wasn't exactly the same as their historical records showed. There was a difference, something subtle but important, hidden in the data. But before she could analyze it further, the first observer made the Council's position clear. The drive must be deactivated. All research must cease. For the safety of all species, humanity cannot be allowed to pursue this technology further. The Grand Chamber of the United Earth Government in Geneva hummed with tense voices as representatives from every nation gathered for the emergency session. Holographic displays showed the crystalline alien ships still orbiting Earth, their presence a constant reminder of humanity's new reality. Dr. Han Jia stood at the podium, her voice steady despite her nervousness. Behind her, massive screens displayed the quantum drive data that had both thrilled and terrified their alien visitors. The gallery was packed with scientists, military officials, and diplomats from around the world. The Council representatives' concerns about the quantum drive are based on historical evidence, she explained, highlighting key sections of data. But our initial analysis suggests there are significant differences between our technology and the one that caused the Centaurus disaster. A representative from the African Union stood up. Can you guarantee that our drive won't cause the same catastrophe? 300 billion lives is not a risk we can take lightly. Before Jia could respond, Dr. Kim Ta stepped forward. Science never offers absolute guarantees, but we've run thousands of tests. The quantum field remains stable even under extreme conditions. Ambassador Li Du watched from his seat, noting the shifting attitudes in the chamber. After a week of non-stop negotiations with the Council representatives, he understood the stakes better than anyone. When he finally rose to speak, the room fell silent. The Council has made their position clear, he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. They demand we cease all quantum drive research and dismantle existing prototypes. In exchange, they offer to share approved faster-than-light technology with us. Murmurs filled the room. The Chinese representative spoke up. And if we refuse? Then Earth will be isolated, Li Du replied grimly. No contact with galactic civilization. No trade, no cultural exchange, no access to their scientific knowledge. They'll establish a quarantine zone around our solar system. The chamber erupted in angry shouts. The Russian representative pounded his desk. This is extortion. They cannot deny us our right to scientific development. We cannot simply abandon this technology, Li Du continued once the noise died down. It represents our best chance to join the galactic community as equals, not as dependents receiving handouts of approved technology. Dr. Park's son cleared his throat nervously. There's something else to consider. The quantum principles we've discovered. They're fundamentally different from anything in the Council's scientific database. This suggests human minds might perceive quantum mechanics in a unique way. The military advisor from India leaned forward. Are you suggesting we understand something the aliens don't? Not exactly, Jia interjected. But our approach is different. The Council representatives admitted they never thought our methods would work. That alone deserves further study. The debate raged for hours. Some nations advocated immediate compliance with the Council's demands, arguing that the risk was too great. Others insisted that humanity couldn't bow to alien pressure, regardless of the consequences. As the sun set outside the chamber's windows, casting long shadows across the floor, Ambassador Li Du made his final appeal. Throughout human history, every major scientific advancement has carried risks. Fire could burn down cities. Nuclear power could devastate continents. But we learned to control these forces, to use them safely. He gestured to the screens showing the quantum drive data. Yes, this technology could be dangerous. But it could also be the key to humanity's future among the stars. Are we going to let fear stop us from reaching our full potential? The Secretary General called for a vote. The result was closer than anyone expected. 51% in favor of continuing research under enhanced safety protocols. That evening, as Li Du prepared to deliver Earth's response to the Council representatives, Dr. Han Jia approached him in the corridor. They won't take this well, she said quietly. Li Du straightened his jacket. No, they won't. But humanity has never responded well to ultimatums. If we give up our independence now, we'll always be seen as the galaxy's children, never its equals. Jia nodded, then handed him a data tablet. Here's something that might help. We found patterns in the quantum field that suggest a way to prove our drive is different from the one that caused the disaster. We just need time to verify it. Li Du studied the data as he walked toward the communication chamber where the Council representatives waited. He knew the next few hours would determine humanity's place in the galaxy. But as he reviewed Jia's findings, a small smile crossed his face. Perhaps they had more cards to play than the Council realized. The crystalline aliens were waiting, their forms glowing with barely contained tension. As Li Du entered the chamber, he straightened his shoulders and prepared to deliver Earth's decision. The real diplomatic crisis was about to begin. The screens around Dr. Han Jia blurred as she rubbed her tired eyes. For 5 days straight, she had barely left the quantum physics lab beneath Seoul. Coffee cups littered her workstation, and her tablet was filled with calculations that would have looked like nonsense to anyone else. But something was there, hidden in the numbers. She could feel it. You should get some rest, Dr. Kim Ta said, entering the lab with fresh coffee. You've been staring at quantum resonance patterns for 20 hours straight. Jia shook her head, taking the coffee gratefully. Look at this, she said, pulling up 2 holographic displays. This is the quantum signature from the Centaurus disaster, provided by the Council. And this is our drive's signature. Kim squinted at the complex patterns floating in the air. They look similar. But they're not. Jia's excitement cut through her exhaustion. Watch what happens when I overlay them. The patterns merge, and suddenly the differences became clear. Where the ancient signature showed violent, chaotic ripples in space-time, their drive created smooth, almost wave-like distortions. The quantum resonance patterns are completely different, Jia explained, her hands moving through the hologram to highlight key points. Our drive isn't creating the same space-time distortions the Council fears. It's like comparing a sledgehammer to a scalpel. Kim leaned closer, his scientific curiosity overcoming his concern for his colleague's rest. But how is that possible? We're manipulating the same fundamental forces they were. Jia pulled up another set of readings. That's what I thought too. But look at these brainwave patterns we recorded during the tests. Every time we activated the drive, there was this strange synchronization between the operator's consciousness and the quantum field. Are you saying our minds are affecting the quantum mechanics? Kim's voice was skeptical. Not exactly. But human consciousness seems to interface with quantum mechanics in a unique way. Where alien civilizations tried to force space to bend, we're asking it to fold. The difference is subtle but crucial. She brought up more data, showing how the quantum field responded to human operators. Their technology tore space apart because they treated it like a barrier to be broken. Our approach creates stable pathways because we're working with the natural quantum properties of space-time. Kim sat down heavily, the implications hitting him. That's why the council representatives said our understanding of quantum mechanics was different. We're not just doing the same thing in a new way. We're doing something fundamentally different. Gia nodded excitedly, pulling up more comparative data. Look at these stability readings. The ancient drive created cascading quantum fractures that spread through space-time. Our drive actually strengthens the local quantum field, making it more stable, not less. But why? What makes human consciousness interact differently with quantum mechanics? Before Gia could answer, Dr. Park's son burst into the lab, waving his own tablet. "I think I know," he exclaimed. "I've been studying the Council's database on sentient species. Most advanced civilizations evolved from purely logical, mathematical thinking patterns. But humans, we evolved to understand patterns intuitively." Gia finished, the pieces falling into place. Our brains developed to recognize complex relationships in nature, not just calculate them. The three scientists worked through the night, combining their findings. They discovered that human neural patterns naturally matched certain quantum field frequencies, allowing for a more harmonious interaction with space-time itself. "It's like we're quantum resonance chambers," Park explained, drawing diagrams on the lab's smart wall. Our consciousness acts as a stabilizing influence on the quantum field, damping out the destructive frequencies that doomed the ancient drive. As morning light began to filter through the lab's windows, Gia made one final set of calculations. "This is it," she said softly. "This is how we prove to the Council that our drive is safe. We're not just copying dangerous technology. We've accidentally created something entirely new." Kim was already reaching for his communicator to contact Ambassador Li Du. "The Council needs to see this immediately. This changes everything." But Gia held up her hand. "Wait. Before we show them, we need to run one more test. A test that will prove beyond any doubt that human quantum drives don't just avoid the old dangers, they might actually help prevent them." She looked at her colleagues, seeing the same mix of exhaustion and excitement in their faces that she felt. "We're going to need the Horizon ready for a full power demonstration. And this time, we're going to show the Council something they've never seen before." Park looked nervous. "Are you sure about this? If we're wrong?" "We're not wrong," Gia said with quiet confidence. "For the first time, I truly understand what we've created. It's not just a drive system. It's proof that humanity has something unique to offer the galaxy." The sun rose over Seoul as the three scientists prepared their findings for presentation. Sometimes, Gia reflected, the greatest discoveries came not from building something new, but from finally understanding what you had already built. The Horizon hung in space against a backdrop of stars, surrounded by an array of alien sensor platforms that sparkled like artificial constellations. Inside the ship's main testing chamber, Dr. Han Jia watched as crystalline council scientists floated around their quantum drive, their forms pulsing with patterns of light that indicated deep concentration. "Begin test sequence 1, the first observer announced. "Power levels at minimum. All monitoring stations, confirm readiness." Dr. Park's son's fingers danced across his console as he recorded every measurement. This wasn't just a demonstration anymore. It was humanity's chance to prove they weren't repeating ancient mistakes. "Quantum field initializing," Dr. Kim Tae reported. "Consciousness interface active and stable." The drive hummed to life, its crystalline core glowing with that familiar blue light. On the massive displays surrounding them, they could see the quantum field forming. But this time, something was different. Remarkable, one of the Energy Form Council scientists transmitted. The quantum resonance. It's harmonizing with the local space-time fabric. Jia nodded. That's the consciousness interface at work. Instead of forcing space to bend, we're establishing a natural quantum relationship with it. The first observer's crystalline form shifted through various colors as it analyzed the readings. Increase power to 25%. Let us see if the effect scales. As the drive's power rose, the quantum field expanded. Where the ancient drive had created violent distortions, their field moved like waves on a calm sea, each ripple reinforcing the stability of space-time around it. 50% power, Kim announced. Field stability maintaining at optimal levels. The council scientists were now showing signs of intense excitement, their crystalline forms vibrating at frequencies that made the air hum, while the energy beings pulsed with rapidly changing colors. This defies everything we thought we knew about quantum mechanics, one transmitted. The field should be showing signs of strain, of potential collapse. Instead, it's self-reinforcing. Park highlighted a section of the data stream. Watch this pattern here, he explained. The human operator's neural patterns are actually helping to guide and stabilize the quantum interactions. It's like we're having a conversation with space-time itself. The first observer moved closer to the drive core. Proceed to maximum power. We must be certain. Jia took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. Initiating full power test. All safety protocols active. The drive's hum deepened as power flooded into the system. The quantum field expanded further, its patterns growing more complex, but never losing their fundamental harmony. Where the ancient drive had torn holes in reality, their field created smooth, stable tunnels through space-time. Impossible, one of the council scientists transmitted. According to our models, this level of quantum manipulation should be causing cascading failures throughout the local space-time fabric. Your models, Park said quietly, didn't account for human consciousness. The test continued for hours as the council scientists ran through every scenario they could imagine. They pushed the drive to its limits, searching for any sign of the instabilities that had doomed the ancient technology. But time after time, the human quantum drive proved not just different, but fundamentally safer than its historical predecessor. The consciousness interface acted as a natural stabilizer, preventing the very quantum fractures that had destroyed the Centaurus arm. There's one more test, Jia announced finally. Something we discovered during our research. She nodded to Kim, who adjusted the drive settings. The quantum field shifted, its patterns changing in subtle but significant ways. We're not just creating stable quantum tunnels, she explained. We can also detect and repair existing quantum damage to space-time. The kind of damage the ancient drive caused. The council scientists froze in collective shock as the data confirmed her words. The human quantum drive wasn't just avoiding the old dangers. It could potentially help heal the scars left by the ancient catastrophe. The first observer's crystalline form pulsed with what might have been awe. In all our years of studying quantum mechanics, we never imagined, never considered. Sometimes, Park said with a small smile, the best way to solve a problem is to stop fighting it and start working with it instead. As the final tests concluded, the council scientists huddled together, their forms shifting with rapid communications. The humans waited anxiously, knowing that the future of their technology, and perhaps humanity's place in the galaxy, hung on the council's decision. Finally, the first observer turned to address them. We must revise our understanding of both quantum mechanics and human potential. Your species has not merely copied dangerous technology. You have transformed it into something entirely new and unexpectedly beneficial. Jia felt tears of relief and pride in her eyes as the observer continued. The Council's ban on human quantum drive research will be lifted. Moreover, we request your assistance in studying this consciousness interface. Perhaps together, we can finally heal the wounds left by ancient mistakes. The humans exchanged triumphant glances. They had done more than prove their technology was safe. They had shown that humanity had something unique to offer the galactic community. As the council scientists began discussing plans for joint research projects, Jia looked out at the stars through the observation window. Those stars had just become a lot closer, and humanity's path to them would help make the galaxy itself a safer place. The crystalline spires of the Galactic Science Academy rose like frozen flames against the purple sky of Centauri Prime. Dr. Han Jia stood at the window of her temporary quarters, watching alien ships arrive from across the galaxy. 3 months had passed since the Council's final ruling, and today she would give her first lecture to an audience of the galaxy's finest minds. On her desk lay the formal declaration from the Council. Humanity was officially approved to develop and use their quantum drive technology. The safety protocols were strict but fair. All ships would require specially trained consciousness interface operators, and drive activation would be monitored by quantum field sensors throughout explored space. "Are you ready?" Dr. Kim Tai asked, entering her quarters. He had spent the last week helping set up the human research facility at the Academy. "I think so," Jia replied, adjusting her translator pendant. "Though I never imagined I'd be teaching quantum mechanics to beings made of crystal and energy." The lecture hall was unlike anything on Earth. The ceiling seemed to stretch into infinity, while the walls shifted colors based on the emotional resonance of the audience. Hundreds of alien scientists had gathered, some floating, some walking, some simply existing as patterns of light and energy. Ambassador Li Du sat in the front row alongside the first observer and representatives from 24 alien species. His presence was a reminder of how far humanity had come since those tense early negotiations. The relationship between consciousness and quantum mechanics. Jia began, her voice carried perfectly to every being in the hall, has been fundamental to human scientific development, though we didn't always realize it. As she spoke, holographic displays showed the evolution of human quantum theory, from the earliest observations to their groundbreaking drive technology. The alien scientists watched with intense interest as she explained how human neural patterns naturally resonated with quantum fields. "Our drive system isn't just a method of transportation," she continued. "It's a demonstration of how consciousness can work in harmony with the fundamental forces of the universe. Where the ancient drive fought against space-time, we've learned to work with it." Dr. Park's son, operating the demonstration equipment, activated a small-scale quantum field. The alien scientists leaned forward as the field formed, showing the unique stability patterns that human consciousness created. "But this is just the beginning," Jia said, her excitement evident. "We've already started working with council scientists to develop new applications. The consciousness interface doesn't just create stable quantum tunnels, it can detect and repair quantum damage to space-time itself." The displays showed their latest discovery, how human-operated quantum fields could help heal the scars left by the Centaurus disaster. The hall erupted in the alien equivalent of excited murmurs. Ambassador Li Du watched with pride as Jia handled the complex questions that followed. Each answer demonstrated not just human scientific understanding, but their unique perspective on the universe itself. Outside the Academy, ships continued to arrive for the first human quantum physics symposium. Vessels of every size and design, carrying scientists eager to learn from the species that had transformed a disaster into a discovery. "We never imagined," the first observer said to Li Du, "that the solution to our oldest problem would come from such a young species." Li Du smiled. Sometimes the fresh perspective of a child can see what ancient wisdom has overlooked. Later that evening, as the twin suns of Centauri Prime set, Jia stood with her team on the Academy's observation deck. Ships from Earth were arriving now, bringing more human scientists to join the galactic research community. "Look at that," Kim said softly, pointing to where a human quantum drive ship was docking alongside alien vessels. Its quantum field glowed with that characteristic blue light, stable and strong. "We did it," Park added. "We really did it." Jia nodded, watching the stars come out above the alien world. Humanity had found its place among those stars not through conquest or competition, but through understanding, both of the universe and of themselves. The quantum drive had started as a dream of faster travel, but it had become something far more important. Proof that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology, but their unique way of seeing and working with the fundamental fabric of reality itself. As night fell on Centauri Prime, the lights of 1,000 ships twinkled like earthbound stars. Each one represented a connection, a collaboration, a step toward a future where human and alien work together to explore not just space, but the very nature of reality itself. The journey that had begun in a laboratory in Seoul had led humanity not just to the stars, but to their true place in the galaxy, not as conquerors or children, but as teachers and partners in the greatest scientific endeavor in history.